start again with human behavior. You can see the screen?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, you can see the screen? Okay.
yes, yes.
So we will now go to model of human behavior. Like you can see on the screen that we uh, we have certain types of models which we have to see before we go to the personality. So, in models of human behavior, first is psychoanalytic model. Freudian gave this model, and he said that he felt that the individual behavior depends on three factors: ID, ego, and superego. By ID, it means generally a pleasure. That means to certain degree of having ID is an individual is constructive but may also lead to destructive tendencies like aggressiveness, dominating, fighting, and generally destroying. ID means actually you are only interested in food, pleasure, sex, and you only like to live your life very peacefully, meeting your general demands like the animals do. So this kind of instinctive is more dominating in childhood also, but once individual develop and mature, they learn to control the ID also. So, but it is always unconscious. Throughout the life, the ID becomes important source of thinking and behaving also. For example, somebody who is very foodie, he always have this crubbing of food while doing any work. So he is always thinking about food while doing anything. While working, also he would like to eat while on the desk or while working. He'll always try to drink something. So this also remains in the subconscious or the unconscious mind. Ego, everybody knows. So ego represents the conscious stage in one's behavior. Though ID comes in conflict with ego, but the ego depends on the superego also. So, ego represents the conscious stage in one's behavior. ID, we said, is always unconscious or subconscious mind. Ego is actually the conscious stage in one's behavior, and superego, it represents the conscience. What is conscience? So when we talk about an individual generally is not aware of the super ego's functioning. The conscious is dependent on two factors, that is the cultural values and the moral of the society. So the superego's development depends mostly on parents' influence. Once the child grows up, the child will unconsciously identifies with parents' values and morals. You know, when you are a child in school, also the moral values are taught so that you become a good person. Parents also teach you how to behave, how to live in society, who to greet, don't talk loudly, all those things that comes in the super ego part. So there is always a tussle between ID, ego, and super ego. So the degree of each of them varies from person to person. So the variations in the individual behavior can be better understood with the help of this model. Second is the existential model. So this model is not scientifically based and it is generally based on literature and philosophy. It believes that the depersonalizing effects of the environmental forces individual to make their own destiny. So the individuals shape their own identity and make their existence meaningful and worthwhile to themselves. The third is internal versus external determinants of behavior. So environment plays an important role in shaping behavior, and genetic endowment and personality development is influenced by the historical heritage. I told you already about internal versus external behavior, so it is the same. Personality versus environment. So both personality and situational variables must be taken into account in order to explain an individual's behavior. But a focus on the environment is also important, and or maybe slightly more important than focusing on the personal traits. Cognition versus environment. To this means to understand one's behavior, all we have to know is the individual's past responses to similar situations and the rewards or punishments that followed these response. So by this I mean to say ki we have to actually learn about all these models. There are two models which came out of these approaches. One is behavioristic model and second is cognitive model. So as the screen says, behavioristic model is the SR model, which is called stimulus response model also. So in this model, the behavior is dependent on only two factors, stimulus and response. So learning occurs with this kind of model, and in the research, it was found out that the behavior can be best understood by stimulus and response. Cognitive model is also called SORR model, or you can also say SOR model, stimulus organism response model. So this model emphasizes the positive and free will factors of human beings, and it uses concepts such as expectancy, demand, and incentive. So in the experiment it was found out that by Tolman that the basis of learning of expectancy, which is understood as one particular event leading to a particular consequence, the goal. So the basis of learning is that we have to reach certain goal. So human behavior is based on generally goals. That means uh, if we have a goal, if a person or the individual has a goal, he will try to actually reach the goal. That is a stimulus which is created. Goal is a stimulus for them, and they respond according to the goal itself. So next slide, we move to conclusion of human behavior models. Both of these approaches, cognitive and behavioral approach, see learning and the environment as having a major impact on behavior. From these different approaches, it was said that behavior is caused by instincts, genetic background, and personality traits that are formed at an early age or the childhood stage. So, change is very difficult for the individual, and one's capacity is severely limited. That means once the behavior is fixed according to instincts, genetic, or the personality trait is fixed, it is very hard to change it. Some people can change, but it is also to a uh, matlab 5% only you can change after fixing the personality. Behavior is it is also said that behavior is mostly learned through our interactions with the environment. So present events rather than past events are important to us, even though there are some limitations of these approaches, or the once my capacity and to change is limited, but there is sometimes people change quite a bit, and we can see that the people has turned around their behavior, what they were doing before. For example, somebody is very aggressive and he tries to change his behavior to very mild person. So this is also seen while studying the human behavior. So any question about all this human behavior? Shall I move to personality? Okay. So, personality, according to Fred Luton's, personality means how a person affects others, how one understands and views oneself, and the pattern of inner and outer measurable traits. So there are three things: person, how I as a person affect the other person, how I understand and view myself, and the inner traits or the patterns which I have, and the outer environmental traits which affects me and how I can measure it. So one's physical appearance and behavior also affects others. This has to be noted. So so the definition of personality is a vehicle to integrate perception, learning, values, and attitudes, and thus to understand the total person. Personality is an individual's total sense of self. It is an organizing force for the person's particular pattern of exhibited traits and behaviors. These are the definitions. So, personality is the culmination of experiences and genetic influences. So, it is said that personality is influenced by the personal life of the person and also where he is working. So let's move. After definition, we'll go to the determinants of personality. What are the determinants of personality? Generally, it is difficult to get the answer that whether the individual's personality is the result of heredity or environment. So there can be no black or white answer to this. But what is heredity? Anybody? It is easy to answer. I've already told what is heredity. What is heredity? Anybody? Can you answer this? What is heredity?
So inherit transfer from parents in terms of
From
genes.
parents. Yeah, yeah. You're right. So it means the transmission of the qualities from ancestors to descendants through a mechanism which is called chromosomes of germ cells. Matlab it is a biological thing. So the physical stature, how much your height is, your facial attractiveness, the temperament, gender temperament, the muscle composition, the reflexes, energy level, the biological rhythms are generally the characteristics that are considered to be either completely or substantially influenced by the parents. So you say my height is short, so maybe somebody in your family is short. You can say that somebody is very tall and very muscly, so you can say that their parents or their forefathers would be having such physical structure. Environment, on the other hand, it exerts pressures on our personality formation and in the culture, because the culture or the society where we live, where we are raised, generally affects us and our personality. So the norms among our family, friends, social groups, and other external environment also influences us, because what we experience is what our personality becomes. For example, if your home environment is very calm, quiet, peaceful, you will see that your personality is will be certainly very calm, quiet, and peaceful. But if your family environment is like very aggressive, there is always a fight going on in the house, there is always a uh, somebody is angry in the house, so somehow or the other your personality also actually take in that aggressiveness, the angriness, the uh, hot temper. So you also become such person. So it is all the heredity factors and the environmental factors that actually affects your personality. So it can we can say both the heredity and environment, and the third, the situation I am telling is in how you actually perceive the situation is actually also shaping your personality. For example, I was talking about the example that somebody, always there's a fight in the house, always there is uh, somebody is angry. So the situation actually is that you accept that personality trait because you always see the things happening in front of you. For you, whenever you are in such situation in your afterlife, you will actually behave in the similar way. So situation is also a very important factor. So, like for example, you are born during the time of some maybe war, or maybe uh, there is very, in the country the things are not good. So what will happen, the situation is a war situation. So from the childhood you must have seen such situation. So you'll automatically learn all the things, how to hide, how to fight the war. And you will be always influenced, your personality will be influenced by the war situation. So if the in future the things are like war was over and everything is good, then also your personality is already shaped according to war, and you would think that I would be good working in the army, or I will in the police, or in such adventurous things. So situation also shapes your personality. Next is types of personality. So there are various types of personalities you can see while you work in the organization. So first we talk about the type A personality, then we'll talk about the type B personality. So while working in the organization, an individual, you can see, have two types of personality. Type A is personality is the person is always impatient, and he or she has a continual sense of urgency and has an excessive competitive drive. He walks, eats, and talk very rapidly. And type A people tend to be very productive as they work very hard. They are aggressive in doing everything, and they are just obsessive about winning, and they do not have the ability to spend leisure time productively. So what you can see on the screen is this type of personality has a poor judgment, and they are always irritable, and they want to be successful, so they want to kill two birds with one stone only. So you can see such people in the organization. Type B personality, on the other hand, uh, he is very easygoing, laid back, and non competitive. He walks, eats, and talks at not so low pace, but low pace. And he uh, never senses the urgency of time, and he is very mild mannered. He works at her own pace. Persons having this type of personality do not need to prove their achievements, but they are better on complex tasks and involving judgment and accuracy. So you can see that they want to play for fun, not for winning everything. They are very calm and quiet and patient people. So these two types of people you will find in the organization: type A personality and type B. This is an important question for the exam also. You should see that. There are certain importance of theories in personality. The major theories of personality you can see on the screen are biological theory or trait theory, psychoanalytic theory, social learning theory, and organization theory. So what it says is its basic idea is that biological theory's basic idea is human behavior is traced to the joint effect of the organism's inherited capabilities and past experiences. What we have seen now, कि जो हमने human behavior में what we have studied, It says that human behavior is actually a joint effect of inherited capabilities and past experiences. Psychoanalytic theory says that human behavior is determined by a person's past experiences, which color his or her perception of current events. That means uh, what the past was, he will always see the present uh, in the same way. Social learning theory generally says human behavior results from an organism's past learning, current perception, and higher level of processes of thinking. So, social learning theory says ki we think a lot and our past learning, current perceptions, and then based on that, we decide what we'll do in the future. Organization theory says human behavior can be understood only in terms of the person's internal perceptions of self and others, leading towards personal fulfillment. So, this organization theory is more humanistic theory, and it more talks about the your internal perception and how you want to lead your life. So this is major theories of personality you have to see. There is another theory which is called a trait approach, or Raymond B. Cattell in 1905. He gave the 16 source traits. So this theory actually is a personality theory which you have to actually learn. This is also an important theory which can come in the exams. So trait approach is actually was given by Kettle, and he identified 16 sources or the primary traits of the people of the person. So these traits are found to be generally steady and constant source of behavior. So he actually gave the 16 source states: reserved, outgoing, less intelligent, more intelligent, affected by feelings, emotionally stable, submissive, dominant, serious. These are opposite. Okay, so serious, happy go lucky, expedient, conscious, timid, venturesome, tough minded, sensitive, trusting, suspicious, practical, imaginative, forthright, shrewd, self assured, apprehensive, conservative, experimenting, group dependent, self sufficient, then uncontrolled, controlled, relaxed, tense. So these are the 16 opposite traits which we have, which Kettle gave. So in this type of approach, several behaviors are seen as cluster characterizing individual with higher degree of stability. That means a person can be relaxed or tensed. He can be tough minded or very sensitive. He can be practical or imaginative. He can be less intelligent or more intelligent. We can find through this 16 traits. So next is locus of control. So people are assumed to be of two types: internals and externals. So internals are people who believe that much of what happens to them is controlled by their destiny. So when we talk about destiny, it means luck. We talk about array, it is because of God, or I am not so lucky. So all this, when we talk about this luck and God and all those things, then internal peoples generally believe that what happens to them is controlled by their destiny. External people actually believe that much of what happens to them is controlled by outside forces. So, for example, if something happens to them, so they'll say, "Ki, this is not my fault. It happened because of the other person who did this." So they'll always think in that way. So another these all are the theories: straight approach, locus of control, Machiavellism. In Machiavellism, there are two types of max, high and low mac. High mac generally tend to take control, especially in loosely structured situations. So, if there's a group of people who don't have a leader, so if there is one person who is having high Machiavellism, so he will take the lead, and he will uh, he will try to lead that group. High Mac also tend to be more logical, rational, and pragmatic people, and they are more skilled in influencing and coalition building. That means making a cohesive groups. Low Mac people generally respond well to a structured situation. You can see ki somebody who is not who does not feel so strong, and they always require support of others, so they will like to work in a structured and environment, and they will feel good if somebody is there to guide them or lead them. There are certain theories of personality which are given by Carl Jung, and his three basic assumption in the theory, that personalities are developmental in that they are influenced by past and hopes for the future. Carl Jung has given us very good personality theory. So he also says that all people have the potential for growth and change. And he says that personality is the totality of a person's interacting subsystems. So all these things you have to actually, when you start reading the blog too, you will understand that Carl Jung assumptions are really true. So, according to him, personality traits are based on two things: emotional orientation and problem solving styles. So, he has given a very detailed things about who are the extroverts and introverts. So he has given us almost eight features like this. He said extroverts, who are extroverts, you already know extroverts are people who like variety and actions, who tend to work faster, dislike complicated, are often good at greeting people, matlab who go who will go forward and talk to people. Introverts, on the other hand, are very quiet people. They don't want to be disturbed. They don't want to show their faces to people, and they like to work alone. Even they dislike telephone intrusions and interruptions. So here you can read this from in the blog to book. It is given clearly. Similarly, he gave about sensing types versus intuitive types. So, sensing type people actually dislike new problems unless there are standard ways to solve them. They like an established way of doing things. And intuitive type of people like solving new problems, dislike doing same things repeatedly. So, these all things, sensing types and intuitive types, also you can see thinking types and feeling types of people. The word as it says, thinking type do not show emotion readily and are often uncomfortable dealing with people's feelings. They may hurt people's feelings without knowing it, and they need to be treated fairly, and they are able to reprimand people or fire them when necessary. So these people are, they think and do the things. They are more analytically oriented, and they respond to people's thoughts. Feeling type people are sensitive people, so they tend to be very aware of what other people are doing, and also they are aware about their and other people's feelings. They enjoy pleasing people, even unimportant things they do. They actually dislike telling people unpleasant things. So they are very sensitive people, and they are very sympathetic, people oriented, and they actually look for praise also. So these people are feeling type people. These other thing is judging type people and perceptive type of people. So judging type of people who always like to judge things, so they work best when they can plan their work and follow the plan. They like to get things settled, and finish, may decide things too quickly, may dislike to interrupt the project they are on for a more urgent one, so they don't like changes. Perceptive people are, they adapt to changes very well, and they do not mind leaving things open for doing other thing. They may have trouble making decisions. So you can read this from the block 2, what are the type of personalities he has given. Similarly, there is Erickson's 8 life stages, which you can go through from the block 2 stage infancy. He has given the 8 life stages: infancy, early childhood, play age, school age, adolescence, young adulthood, and later life. It is very given in very easy language in your blog, so you can go through it. Next is Sheldon's theory. Uh, Sheldon's theory actually labeled three things as a personal characteristics. They reflect three body types actually. So endomorph, mesomorph, and ectomorph. They say endomorph people are fleshy and inclined towards fatness. They are fat people. And the personal characteristics you will find among these fat people are friendly. They are friendly. They are oriented towards other people. They seek others when troubled. They are slow to react, and they love to eat. Second, Sheldon said mesomorph personality is generally athletic and inclined to be muscular. So their personal characteristics you'll see is they seek physical adventure, needs and enjoys exercise. They're very restless, aggressive, and they like to risk and take chance, and they are very competitive. On the other hand, ectomorph are very thin people and are inclined to be fine boned and fragile. And their personal characteristic is like they like privacy, they are socially inhibited, quick to react, and hypersensitive. They are very hypersensitive towards pain. So, this is a Sheldon's theory, which is you have to see. Another theory is passages theory. This is given by Sheehy in 1976, and they concluded that adults progress through 5 crises in their life. So, according to the crisis, they have divided into five. They have identified the 5 traits. Pulling up roots. These people are between 18 to 22 years of age, and when they leave their parents and they want to establish themselves, so they it is called pulling up roots. The trying 20s, when they try to actually become stable, earn more money. So 20 to 29 years of age is coming in this point. Third is the catch, when you are in 30s, like 30 to 35 years of age. And the deadline decade is 35 to 45 years. And it is said that these how these people can behave when they are into certain age. Last is renewal or resignation is 45 plus people. So what they feel, they become very mature, and how they deal with their life, and how they actually present themselves also changes. So these stages are related to actually working places, and it is not related to your age actually. Maturation theory was given by Chris Agris, and he has given 7 points in this, according to the healthy individuals who tend to move from immaturity to maturity stage. So he actually has confirmed that healthy people generally show behaviors of maturity, while unhealthy people tend to demonstrate a childlike, immature behavior. So most of the organizations tend to their employees like children, and they try to make them dependent. But this is a if you want actually organization to grow, you have to treat your employees like a mature person, and you have to make them independent so that they can bring in new ideas and innovations. Now, these two theories are modern theory of personality. These are very important theories. First is Myers Briggs type indicators. These two theories, Big Five model and Myers Briggs type indicators, are generally used by psychologists and to study the personality of the people. So I've taken a small example like in it. So it is a widely used for personality assessment all over the world. So generally it has 100 question personality test that ask question as how people usually feel or act in particular situation. And when you answer that question in a multiple choice question, you answer that, it decides the personality of a person. This uh, this is important. Both of these theories can come in the exam, so you have to see this. There are 8 traits which we have studied previously, like extrovert, introvert, sensing, intuitive, thinking, feeling, judging, perceiving, and all these uh, traits are taken into account, and it has divided or classified people into 16 personality types. Three three types or the classification I have taken as an example. They say INTJs are visionaries. I means introvert, N means intuitive, T means thinking, and J means judging. The people, when they answer the question and it comes that they are introvert, they are intuitive, they are thinking, and they are judging people, these people, according to Myers Briggs, are visionaries. So, who are visionaries? Anybody can tell me who are visionaries, who have vision for the future? So, generally, visionaries have logical minds and they have a great drive for their own ideas and purposes. They are very unconvinced or skeptical. It is very like very hard to convince them. They're very critical, they are independent, determined, and very stubborn people. So, according to their vision, they grow their organizations very, they take their organizations to a higher levels actually. Second is, according to Meyer-Briggs, ESTJs are organizations where E means extrovert, S means sensing, T means thinking, and J means judging again. So, who are organizers? We can say the organizers are people who are realistic, who are logical, who are analytical, who can take decisions, who are actually natural head of business or the mechanics, and they like to organize and run the activities. ENTPs, on the other hand, are conceptualizers. So, these conceptualizers we talk about are only 5% people in the world. So, these people are actually very innovative and individualistic. They are very versatile. They are attracted to the entrepreneurial ideas. These people are very resourceful in solving any challenging problems, and they neglect routine assignments. So, firms like Apple, FedEx, Honda Motors, Microsoft, or maybe Sony actually are founded by intuitive type of thinkers. So, ENTPs are actually conceptualizers. Okay. So in short, I have explained to you what is MBIT, and you can actually take this test, personality test. It is, if you write this in the Google, you can take this personality test and can come to know what you are actually. So next is big five personality traits. It is clear that there are uh, five basic dimensions in this, and first is openness to experience, which means uh, a person who addresses one's range of interest and fascination with novelty. That means he is ready to take in any new or innovative thing. He want to do new things and is open for experience. Then the personality type is called he is open to experience. Second is extraversion. So, extraversion generally captures one comfort level with relations. So, extraverted people actually focus more on comforts, and they will work only when they are comfortable, or the time is comfortable, or the place is comfortable. Only then they will uh, work for the organization better. Agreeableness refers to an individual's propensity to defer to orders. So, how much agreeable you are to what your boss is saying or what the leader is saying is actually tells about how much you'll follow the order of the leader or how much you will not follow. So it depends from personality to personality. uh, Consciousness generally is a measure of reliability. So how much moral or consciously your personality is, how much reliable you are, how much trustworthy you are, is given by the consciousness, what this model says about. Emotional stability is stable actually. It tells about how much a person can take stress, or maybe you can say ki, what is the ability of a person to withstand stress, how much pressure you can handle, how much emotionally stable you are, is actually important while you work in the organization. So this is all about personality. It was a big topic. So and there were so many theories to cover. So I have discussed that in 23 slides actually. So next, let us move to what is attitude. So everybody, are you there still? Everyone,
Yes, we are there.
okay? You are able to understand what I am saying. You
Yes, we
can
understood.
question me also if you like.
One question.
Okay. So let's go to attitude. What is attitude? Anybody? No?
Attitude is a feeling towards something.
Yeah. Actually, organizational behavior clearly defines attitudes in many ways. But let me explain to you what is attitude. You after seeing all these slides and what I'm explaining, you will be able to know actually what is attitude. So, attitude generally is first we'll read the slide, evaluative statement or judgment or reaction concerning to the object, issues, people, ideas, social groups, or events. So, what I'm trying to say is these evaluative statements generally say कि you like the thing or you don't like the thing. The or maybe either the object is favorable or unfavorable, issues are favorable or unfavorable. So you decide according to your attitude. So how we feel about something is actually an attitude. So, example here it is already given. When I say that I like my job, I am saying or expressing that my attitude about my work is positive. Now, if I say I do not like my job, I am expressing that my attitude towards my work is negative, favorable or unfavorable. If I like to eat something, I say I like to eat this because my attitude towards eating, for example, apple is favorable, and I don't like papaya. So I'll say कि I don't like papaya. So my uh, I am expressing my attitude as negative towards papaya. So attitude are learned predispositions towards aspect of our environment. They can be positive or negative uh, according to what you feel about that actually. So, moving towards, we can see the slide. I'll show you how our attitudes actually uh, work. So, there are three things: informational, emotional, and behavioral. Informational means what is the idea, belief, or information we have. Emotional means cognitive. So, what we feel about that idea, we like or dislike, we like that idea or not, we are positive towards that idea or not, or we are negative towards that idea. And third is how we behave according to the information and the emotion we have. Let's take an example. Now, there are three things: cognitive, affective, and behavioral, which we have seen in this slide. Okay. Now, first is example is if I am saying cognitive, I have in my mind, I have a feeling that my pay is low. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm attaching an emotion to it. So cognitive is, I'll explain, is an opinion or belief segment of the attitude. That means this informational idea, belief, and value section. The affective is actually the emotional feeling and dislike or value of the. This is the effect, okay, and then we behave accordingly. So let us see. My pay is low is actually my opinion about my pay. Emotionally, the feeling segment of the attitude will say I am angry over how little I am paid, and the behavior is actually an intention to behave in a certain way towards this statement, my pay is low. So what you do, your attitude according to what the example says is, if I have an opinion that my pay is low, I am angry, my feeling is what, I am angry that I am paid less, and how will I behave? I am going to look for another job that pays better. So this is what is an attitude, is how attitude is shaped. Similarly, if employee feels he deserves a promotion but supervisor gives the promotion to a coworker, then this will create a feeling of a dislike towards supervisor, and you will behave in a certain way that you will complain to the CEO, or maybe you will look for the another job. So this all creates an attitude. There are three steps: cognitive, affective, and behavioral. Is it clear? What is attitude? How it is shaped? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So there are certain job attitudes we should actually seize. These job attitudes are job satisfaction. So what is job satisfaction? Can anybody tell what is job satisfaction? You all are working now. Generally, I feel all of you are working. So what is job satisfaction? Anybody? No? Job satisfaction is when you feel that whatever work you are doing is giving you uh, good salary, peace of mind, and also you like to do that work. So, when you like to do certain work, what happens? So when you like to do a certain work, your attitude towards the job actually becomes positive. So job satisfaction generally refers to an individual's general attitude towards his or her job, which is either positive or negative, satisfied or dissatisfied. ठीक है. Job involvement is generally how much involved or participative you are in completing the work which is given to you. So, job involvement generally measures the degree to which a person identifies with his job. He or she actively participates in it and considers his performance important to his self worth. That means if I like cooking, for example. So, if I like cooking, my attitude towards cooking is positive. So I'll be more involved in doing that job, and my performance, that means the whatever I'm trying to cook, will be very tasty. And when people will eat it, they will give you a uh, happy look, which is a self worth, and you'll be satisfied with that cooking. So, job involvement brings in positive results. Organizational commitment. You can when we talk about any commitment, it talks about the loyalty. Okay, it talks about the identity and involvement in the organization. So organizational commitment is generally an orientation to all these three things: loyalty, identity, and involvement in the organization. So the attitude here, these three attitudes: loyalty, identity, and involvement, these attitudes are measured so that the behavior uh, so so that the behaviors like productivity, absentees, or turnover can be protected. For example, if a person is committed to an organization, he is very loyal, and so what, will he take leave? No. Will he try to leave the organization? No. Will he be productive? Yes. Okay. When a person is not committed to the organization, he does not like the organization or the supervisor, his attitude will be negative. So his productivity will go down. He will try to remain absent from the job. He will take holidays, leaves, and and after few months or few time as it passes, he will try to leave the job also. So negative and positive organizational commitment depends on the attitude of a person in the organization. Next is perceived organizational support. This means how much supportive is the organization uh, uh, to the person who is working for him. So, for example, uh, an organization supports manager A, but an organization does not support manager B. He For the A person, the organization actually for the A person, the organization is very supportive. How? For example, if he wants to study further, so the organization has given him a sponsorship so that he can further his studies. So he is very happy ki the organization is funding him for further study. So her perception towards the organization is supportive. So attitude of the A person will be positive, but for the B person, he was not given the sponsorship because he is for any reason, xyz reason. So for B person, he does not perceive the organization as supportive, so his attitude will be negative, and so the behavior will also be negative. So last thing is employee engagement. This has been a very important aspect in the organization. Every organization wants that employee works with an engagement. So employee who likes his work, who feels that he's satisfied from the work, he's involved in the work, he's committed to the organization, and he feels that the organization is very supportive to him, he will automatically get engaged with the organization. So such employee is engaged in the organization and he will feel positive attitude, and his positive attitude will lead to employee engagement and productive higher productivity. So engagement is actually necessary for every organization. Nowadays all the organization adopt this feature as and they say that we are creating an engagement for an employee so that they can be loyal to the organization. So it is very important aspect nowadays in organizational behavior. Next is, let's move to the next slide, is values. What are the values? You know what are values are? Did you know what are the values? Can anybody define the value? What is your value if you define something as part of your personality? So it is actually values, you can say, are very stable, evaluative beliefs that guide our preferences for any outcome or maybe a cause of action in a variety of situations. So they represent what we want. They state what we want to do, maybe in a socially desirable ways, and what we want to achieve, actually what in what ways we want to achieve the things. So actually values represent basic convictions, that is specific uh, mode of conduct or end state of existence is personally or socially preferable by the person, and it does not include which we don't like. So there are two types of values, which is broadly categorized as terminal values, what we try to achieve, and instrumental values, which means for achieving desired ends. So terminal values are like comfortable life we want, sense of accomplishment, family security, mature love, self-respect, wisdom. All these things are the uh, terminal values. Instrumental values means for achieving desired end. So desired end is like ambition, what ambition we have a courage or not, we have honesty or not, we are helpful or not, we are independent or dependent, we are imaginative or we have a very fixed nature. So these things actually shape the personality. What values we have actually depends on the core of our heart, and these values can be of a person, and it can, you can see that organization nowadays also have values. So when we join certain organization, you will find that there are certain visions, there are certain missions, there are certain values of the organization which you have to match with. So the organization values, how they are created is, it is created of course with the owner's values, but as the people join the organization, their values also get mixed up with the organizational values. So as the organization grows, the person who are working in the organization actually frame the values. They try to merge the personal values with the organizational values. So, sir, when you apply for a certain job or to a certain company, sometimes you feel कि their values does not match with your values, or the organization feels that you are not suitable for the organization because you don't have a certain value. For example, organization is very, like, they are very disciplined and strict, but they actually try to um, they don't pay taxes, for example. So but when you join the organization, you are very like honest, you are very disciplined, you want to actually don't want to hurt anybody, and you like to be very fair with everyone. So this fairness value will not match with the organization because they are not paying taxes. So there are certain things in the organization which does not match with your values. Then personal, if personal values and organizational values does not match with your personality, then you cannot work for that organization. So for example, a placement company comes, and one company comes to your organization, one company comes and they don't select you. So it is not because you are not actually competitive, or you don't have a qualification, or you don't have uh, the the job, the you don't know how to work in that organization, but company's value does not match with your values, so they don't select you. So it is good कि they don't select you at that time, because in future also, after maybe 4 to 6 months, you have to leave the organization. So value is very important factor of personality. So next part of value is Alport has identified 6 type of values: theoretical, economic, aesthetic, social, political, and religious. So theoretical places high importance on the discovery of truth through critical and rational approach. Economic says emphasis to be useful and practical. Aesthetic says places the highest value on the form and harmony. Uh, Social says the highest value is given to the love of people. Political says places emphasis on acquisition of power and influence. And religious says concerned with the unity of experience and understanding of the cosmos as a whole. So this is all about personality, attitude, and values. Next, we'll go to the learning. So what is learning? Generally, you also know कि we train employees so that they can learn and work on their job. So any relative change in behavior that occur as a result of experience is called learning. Okay, so we learn all the time. So what it's what we have done since we were a child. So we learn in school, we learn in college, we learn in organization. So learning is taking place from since we are a child. So it can be defined as learning takes place if an individual behaves, reacts, responds as a result of experience in a manner different from the way he formerly behaved. So, learning generally involves changes. It can be good or bad. The change must be ingrained, it has to be long term. We don't say it is a learning if there is a short term change. So the change should be a long term, and there has to be some form of experience which is gained by the person. So how do we learn? There are 3 type of theories which tell us how do we learn. First is classical conditioning theory, second is operant conditioning, and third is social learning. Classical conditioning theory talks about a dog. Dog means you know dog now. So everybody, you know an animal dog.
Yes, ma'am.
है ना? Clear. Okay. So this classical
Yes,
conditioning.
yes.
Okay. So this classical conditioning generally says how we teach a dog to salivate in response to a ringing of a bell. That means the psychologist Ivan Pavlov says he wanted to teach a dog to salivate as he ring a bell. So he presented a dog with a meat. So meat is called an unconditional stimulus. Now dog salivation should increase as we present a meat to the dog. So he presented the meat and rang the bell. The dog did not salivate for the first time. First time when he presented a meat and rang the bell, the dog did not salivate. So he what he did is he linked meat and the ringing bell, and before giving food he rang the bell. So as he rang the bell for the third time, dog started salivating as soon as the bell rang. So meat was not the feature. Try to understand this. The psychologist wanted dog to salivate when he ring a bell. So when he presented the meat and rang the bell, dog did not salivate, but dog understood that whenever the bell is ringing, he will be given a meat. So after some time, dog learned it, and as the bell is rang, dog started salivating. So the unconditional stimulus, the meat, and the unconditional response, the salivation, has been converted into a conditional stimulus, ringing of a bell, and conditional response, the salivation of a dog when the bell is ringing. So, learning is a conditioned response. Actually, we have converted the dog to salivate from unconditional response to a conditional response. Uh, conducting We can say the classical conditioning is generally a passive theory. Something happens and we react in a certain way. Like for example, you must have learned nursery rhymes in the childhood. So still we when we think about these nursery rhymes, often it brings back the pleasant memories of childhood and feeling of happiness because we were close to our parents that time when we learn these nursery rhymes. Let us take an example of manufacturing plant also. In manufacturing plant, every time a head office top executive, there was a visit planned of a top executive in the manufacturing plant. So every time it happens, uh, there was a schedule cleaning which is done by the administration office. So what administration office do is they wash the windows. So whenever this top executive visit is scheduled, uh, the admin office washes the window. After some time, it happened that whenever windows are washed, the people actually come to know that top executive will visit. So they try to turn up in their best behavior and they look prim and proper. So, irrespective of whether the top executive is visiting or not. So, we actually convert the unconditional stimulus to conditional stimulus after some time when we feel that the condition unconditional response is converted to conditional response. Is it clear? Like, am I clear on these examples?
Yes.
You are able to understand? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So next we go to operant conditioning. Operant conditioning means behavior is a function of the consequences. So people learn to behave to get something they want or avoid something they don't want. So it is voluntary or learned behavior, and creating pleasing consequences to follow specific forms of behavior would increase the frequency of their behavior. What do I mean? For example, professor, for example, who places marks to a student name each time student make contribution to class discussion. That means he is creating a positive effect on the students. That means if professor, if I want you to, if I am giving marks for the each answer a person is giving in the class, I am creating a reward, and I am creating a positive conditional response. I am asking for a conditional response from the students. So there are two things here. Expectation of reward is taking or earning class credit, and condition the students has to, what they have to do, they have to speak up in class. So there are two things here. Earning class credit, student has to speak in class. So operant conditioning is when I create a reward, the student will try to speak in class. Second example, boss tells you once that if you work overtime during next 3 weeks, busy season, you will be compensated for it in the next performance appraisal. So you worked very hard these 3 weeks because it was a busy season, and when the performance appraisal came, you were not given any positive reinforcement for your overtime work in those 3 weeks. So next time, if your boss asks you to work overtime, will you do it? Yes or no? You didn't understand what I'm trying to say in an example. So
No,
if your
you will
boss,
not do it. You will not
you
do
will
it
not,
because he has not fulfilled his
yeah.
previous promise.
So because as promised by the boss, you were not given a performance appraisal or you were not given a positive reinforcement. So you will not work overtime next time the boss asks you to do. So, behavior, if you don't give or repeat the positive reinforcement, then the people will not follow you. That means if you reward the people, automatically they will work hard and they will behave in a positive way if you actually give them a reward. Similarly, if you don't give them a reward, the people will fail to be positively reinforced. For example, then repetition or probability of doing the work will also decline. So, operant conditioning is if you give the reward, people will behave positively. If you don't give the reward or if you don't fulfill the promise, people will behave negatively. Okay. Third is social learning. So, individuals learn by observing also. So what other people do and also by what other people tell, or by sitting or by direct experience, you actually learn in a social environment. So for example, what we have learned actually has come from watching our role models like parents, teachers, peers, even the televisions, our bosses, etc. This shows that when learning is through observational things, then learning can be through the observation, learning can be through the perception, learning can be through the direct experience. And when all these three things are covered, it is called social learning theory. So, so there are four processes which is actually based on the influence of model on the individual. Model is like who is our role model, parent, who is a role model, teacher, maybe peers, maybe actors, maybe bosses. So there are four processes here. First is attention process. So attention process, as per the word, people learn from model when they recognize or pay attention to what they are doing. For example, if we see a very attractive advertisement on the TV and it is repeatedly available, and it is important to see here is if we are attentive to the advertisement, then we learn how to behave in that manner. We want to, for example, um, who is the actor you like? Anybody? You like someone on the screen?
Yes, ma. Shah Rukh Khan.
Shah Rukh Khan, okay. So he is very attractive, है ना? So he shapes his like he wears different attractive dresses or he shape his hairs. So what you try to do is you pay attention to this model Shah Rukh Khan and you try to actually follow him. Maybe you make your hairs in similar way, maybe you dress in a certain way, so it is important to us or similar to us in our estimation ki we are attentive to what he is doing. So we'll follow him. Okay, this is the attention process. What is retention process? How well the individual remember the model's action after model is no longer readily available. That means sometimes we try to imitate the models now. So this retention process actually give us an idea ki how much we are how much we can retain from the advertisement after it is not available. Motor reproduction process says after a person has seen a new behavior, the watching must be converted to doing. Motor reproduction is we have seen what he is wearing, we have seen Shah Rukh Khan how he is making his hairs, and we can retention process means what we can recall in the advertisement, and motor reproduction process means how we can behave in the same way how the model is behaving. The fourth is reinforcement process. So in the first three things we are just trying to imitate the person in a certain way by remembering the advertisement. Reinforcement process is actually individuals are motivated to behave in a certain way if positive incentives or rewards are provided to them. So behaviors that are positively reinforced are given more attention uh, than the behavior which are negatively reinforced. For example, Toyota Motor Corporation applies social learning theory in teaching employees the skills they need to meet the company's high standards. So what they do is they train the trainees actually watch the computerized visual manuals to uh, learn the skills, basic skills. Then they are asked to recall, which is called a retention process. The first is called visual manuals, which they have to see, is called the attention process. The second, they have to recall whatever they have seen, it is called a visual model. And the third motor reproduction process they do is they actually try to practice the skill under the supervision. So they are doing a motor reproduction process. And also the Toyota Motor motivate these workers by giving them rewards and incentives. So it is called a reinforcement process. So actually all of these processes are followed in the organization. Shaping behavior. What is shaping behavior? Generally, when we try to mold individuals by guiding their learning in certain steps, then we are shaping the behavior of a person. So, when we systematically reinforce each of the step, that actually helps individual to move closer to the uh, behavior we want him to do or the desired response. If he changes, then it is called he is actually shaped in a certain behavior we want to him to do. There are three concepts in this. Reinforcement is required to change the behavior of a person. Some rewards are more effective than other rewards to the person, and the timing of reinforcement affects learning speed and permanence for, and it differs from person to person. So let's study about the different methods of. Key concept is actually helping these methods, helping us to define these methods. So there are different types of reinforcement. First is positive reinforcement. Everybody knows, providing a reward for desired behavior actually as a positive reinforcement. Example is for example, your supervisor or boss praises you because you have done the job well. So he is actually giving you positive reinforcement, maybe uh, monetarily or non-monetarily. Negative reinforcement is for example, college instructor asks question and you don't know the answer to his question, then looking through lecture notes is likely you'll see the notes, you will see here and there. So what the lecturer will do or the instructor will do, he will try to actually ask you to ask you to actually give the answer seeing the notes. So negative reinforcement here is, so what is the negative reinforcement here? The instructor, when he asks the question, you try to hide behind other people and you don't want to answer. So what he will say is, kindly refer your notes so that you can answer the question. So if you are referring the notes and the instructor finds you that you are referring the notes, then he can negatively reinforced you to see the notes and answer. If you have answered it correctly for the first time, then he can say right answer and he can pat on your back. So that is positive, and negative reinforcement is he is actually giving you an instruction to refer your notes. What is punishment? Punishment is generally giving an employee 2 days suspension without pay for showing. For example, a certain person came drunk to the gate of the organization, or maybe he came to the office. So, what an HR person do is he gives a 2 days suspension to him because he came drunk to the office without pay. So this is a punishment. How will this help a person to change his behavior? So because he is suspended for 2 days and he'll not paid for 2 days, so he will not drink and come to the office. So you can punish him and change his behavior. Extinction is when the behavior is not reinforced, it gradually tends to get extinguished. For example, when the students ask question in the class by raising their hands, and if the instructor or the teacher does not ask them to ask any question, so what will happen? Or the teacher try to ignore those who have raised hands, then this hand raising will become extinct. Next time the college student would not raise a hand after 2 3 times, so it is called extinction. So what change the behavior of the students is that the teacher has not answered or had not given them a chance to ask their question. Therefore, positive and negative reinforcement strengthen a response and increase the probability of repetition, while punishment and extinction weakens a response and decrease the probability of repetition. So, positive or negative reinforcement strengthen the response, and punishment and extinction actually weakens the response and probability of repetition. There are other types of reinforcement: continuous reinforcement and intermittent reinforcement. So, continuous reinforcement is actually a behavior. It reinforces the desired behavior each and every time it is demonstrated. For example, someone who is always coming late and to the office, and if the manager compliments him each time he comes late, then he is inducing him to come on time. Continuous reinforcement is like, if you say to a person, in this example the manager was saying, good morning, Mohammed. How are you? You came late today also. So every day when he tries to do this, this person Mohammed will feel very shy or will feel very ashamed and will come on time the next day. Intermittent reinforcement. It is generally discontinuous or irregular reinforcement. So, reinforcing a desired behavior often is not enough to make the behavior worth repeating, but sometimes there is you have to demonstrate something to change the behavior. So, there are two types of intermittent reinforcement: ratio schedules and interval schedules. So ratio schedules means it depends on how many responses the subject makes before the behavior is changed. How much work employee does so that his behavior can be changed. Fixed ratio schedule means, for example, you have studied about price rate incentive plan. No, did you study up about price rate incentive plan? We'll end here only because it is 11 o'clock already. So, fixed and variable ratio schedule is fixed ratio schedule means initiating reward after fixed or constant number of responses are made, and variable ratio schedule means varying the reward related to the behavior of the individual. The mm, the interval schedule means actually it depends on how much time has passed since the previous reinforcement is made. So fixed interval schedule is spacing the reward at uniform time interval, and variable interval schedule means distributing reward at a time so that the reinforcement are unpredictable. So this is about method of reinforcement. So organization behavior also have a model of behavior modification. It consists of 5 steps: identify critical behavior, develop baseline data, identify behavioral consequences, develop and implement an intervention strategy, and evaluate performance improvement. Let us take an example. So FedEx is a freight packages, and management wanted packers to use freight containers for shipments whenever possible because of specific economic saving. So they this means they are identifying the critical behavior. They are identifying that the each freight packers has to use freight containers for shipment so that they can save the cost. So they have to develop a baseline data now. So when packers were asked about the percentage use of containers, they replied that it was 90%. However, the actual container utilization which they found out is only 45%. So you have to quantify things before you want the behavior to change. So third point, identify behavioral consequences, why they are not doing it. So in order to encourage employees to use containers, management established a program of feedback and positive reinforcement. The fourth point, each packer was instructed to keep a checklist of daily packing, both containerized and non containerized. So they are developing and implementing an intervention strategy, and then evaluate the performance improvement. At the end of the day, it was found out that the container utilization jumped to more than 90% on the first day and held at that level. So, behavior modification requires these 5 steps before you try to change the behavior of a person in the organization. So, can we take next topic, or what do you say? Or you want me to stop?
Ma, we can stop here. It is praying time here in Nigeria.
We can?
We
I
can
can
stop.
continue. Continue?
No, ma.
No,
We
it's
can
already
Oh,
ending.
yes, we can
we
stop
can
here, ma.
stop.
We can stop here?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
Okay.
ma.
Yes.
Okay. I'll stop the recording and we are stopping it here. Thank you. So we'll continue later on. Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, ma.
Tomorrow.
Thank
Have a
you.
Thank you
wonderful
very
day.
much. Thank you very much, ma.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you very much, Ma.
you.